I like to go with the flow of traffic, with the grain. Am I against public adjusters and litigation and mediation and appraisals? I'm really not. I'm glad we have those options. I'm glad that we have awesome professionals in the industry that we can turn to if we need them, okay? So I'm not against PAs and that appraisal process. My only issue with it is that it takes so much time. It takes so much time. If you have to sue the insurance company, it's gonna take forever. If you have to go to appraisal, it takes longer. If you have to refer it out to a public adjuster, it takes longer. So unfortunately, those things are needed though, so it's a good thing we have them. But people ask me all the time, I have this particular project, and this is happening and that's happening. Should I send it out to a PA? Should I have my client refer it to a PA? Or should I send it to appraisal? My answer always is to ask them questions like, have you tried this? Have you tried this? Have you tried? And if they say no, then no. It's not time to send it out. My place in life, my purpose in this industry is to help you guys figure out how to exhaust all options that are in the contractor lane before you resort to doing that. And I think that the contractor actually really does have the most power, all right? Like, people take a lot of issue with me when I say this. I get a lot of trolls online that criticize me about this, and I just don't care. I'm gonna speak the truth. I believe that the contractor is actually the one who has the most power. Like, of course, I believe that the homeowner, the property owner has power. Attorneys have power, brother, no offense. PAs have power, no offense. But I just think, hear me out. The reason why I think this, and I think they have more power than the insurance adjuster. Because when you go and you perform the repairs, the adjuster's not going to be there with you. The attorney's not going to be there with you. You might be, I don't know. He says no. I don't think the PA is going to be there with you, all right? The appraiser's not going to be there with you. So typically, when we get into these disagreements with adjusters, it's about an estimate. We're arguing over an estimate. Let's think about that for a second. Because a lot of you will lock horns and get into the stalemate where you don't know what else to do. You won't even take the job because you've locked horns with an adjuster and you're disagreeing about an estimate. Well, I want to tell you, an estimate is simply nothing more than a prediction of the future. That's it. So you're arguing about what your prediction of the future is against their prediction of the future. It's just silliness, guys. It's nonsense. We are arguing over a hypothetical. We're arguing about something that hasn't even happened yet. So I just would submit to you that you can't win that argument because it hasn't happened yet. The way to win your argument and to prove your case is to make the repairs. Because when you make the repairs, you're going to be there to prove that your estimate was correct. The adjuster's not coming out there to prove you wrong. So when you're having your disagreements about, the adjuster's like, well, that's not gonna be required. You're not gonna need to do that. You could do this job without doing that, or that's not damaged, or that flashing's not damaged, right? You don't need to do that. Well, they're not gonna come out there on the job and prove that point to you. The contractor is. That's why I say the contractor has all the power. I'm gonna break that down throughout the day to really show you what that means. Go for it, my man.
So when the Hartford comes to you and tells you you can replace 63 shingles, should I have 20 squares of material on site?
Great question, dude. Awesome question, man. Yeah, you're like, so I'm taking that literally from you, so how do we handle that, right? So his question is, so if the Hartford says we need to replace 63 shingles, should I get that material out there? Part of it, you may, throughout the day, you may think that a part of the strategy may be to at least get the material out there. But to answer your question, because I'm not gonna duck it, I was hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by the claim, okay? So if the carrier prescribes 63 shingles being removed and replaced, I first need to know which 63 shingles are they even talking about, right? So to be clear, I'm not saying, my man, I'm not saying you just need to go out and just make the repairs. As soon as there's a disagreement, make the repairs. I'm not saying that. There's a process I want you to follow first, right? To be proactive, so that you're out in front of that and you build a record for it, okay? But my first question, because this is a good one. This is a good question that always comes up. What do you do when they say, 14 shingles, or in this case, 63 shingles, most of my starting places you're going to see throughout the day is, well, I was hired as the contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you. So first, Mr. Adjuster, I need an estimate to break down. I need an estimate for that, because a lot of times they don't want to give you an estimate because like the total of these shingles doesn't come up to the deductible, so we're not even going to give you an estimate because no payment's being made. Well, I was hired as a contractor to perform all repairs that are prescribed by you, so I need that in an estimate. And I need you to come out here and show me which 63 shingles that is. I can't just randomly replace 63 random shingles, right? And then, of course, to replace the 63 shingles, I would have to replace multiple shingles around each one of them that they designate, right? Because you can't just do that one and not the ones surrounding it. If they go up over ridges and hips and you have overlapping felt in different areas, but also the soft metals that I already mentioned earlier, that all flashing must be replaced with rusted, damaged, or deteriorated, so that'll come into play, and then the shingles surrounding the metal, so you have more shingles, right? But more importantly than any of that, once they've identified the 63 shingles that need to be replaced, remember those 4 building codes I gave you earlier? Okay, so I want to go into the attic underneath those 63 shingles before I make the repairs and see, are there wet spots on the deck that I can see? Is there damaged decking? So, and see, is it solidly sheathed? Because they can't roof over top of anything that has a water-saturated roof covering and/or underlayment. You can't roof over top of anything that has a water-soaked deck. You can't roof over top of anything that's not solidly sheathed, and you must comply with all manufacturer specifications. There's 4 different building codes right there. By the way, so that deck, when it's wet, you have to cut that out. Is that deck half-inch, guys? Is it half-inch decking? Because if it is, in most areas, that has to be upped to the 5/8, to the 3/4 decking. That gets the whole deck, which gets all the shingles, right? But also, is the shingle discontinued? That's another one, right? And you have another question over here.
You talked about if the
I didn't duck that question, right? I didn't duck it, did I? Okay.
if the deck